What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to 3 Star Draw. I'm down south 77, aka 3 Star Draw, and this here is an adult collector channel. Went down and met up with my buddy Jay at Yojo Depot yesterday and picked up the newest wave of G.I. Joe Classified. They're starting to trickle out. I think Target is starting to get them now based on what I've seen in some of the Facebook groups, and Entertainment Earth sent them out couple 3 weeks ago, and they're due from Amazon this month and Pulse next month. Of course, that'll probably get moved up. Anyway, I'm gonna bang through some videos and take a look at this newest wave, because this is a pretty killer wave. And in this video, we're gonna check out number 179 Wetsuit. So this is probably my most anticipated figure out of this wave. I like everybody in it. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't opened Grim Viper yet, so maybe that video is already out and you've seen my opinion on Grim Viper, but I haven't opened him as of time of doing this intro. So that being said, Wetsuit, man, I always liked him. I liked him and Leatherneck together. Those guys were great. We've had Leatherneck for a year now. It's time to give us Wetsuit.
Next time we're in combat, Leatherneck, remind me to get right in front of you. That'll be the safest place.
Am I the only person that's a little bit disappointed he didn't just come with a devilfish? Would anybody have really been upset if he came with the devilfish? I'm not much for locking main characters behind a paywall, but this guy and the devilfish kind of go together, like peanut butter and jelly, peas and carrots. I kind of thought it would be a good way to give us the devilfish. I think that would have been a good sell. I don't think anybody would have been mad about that. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, we're going to get him out. Looks like they did a good job on classifying him up, but keeping his original look as well. So we're going to check him out. I'm happy to get this guy. I like the elemental guys, the water guys especially. I do like Torpedo better, however, but I'm biased because Torpedo was my first Joe. Here's how he's going to come packed in when you slide him out of the box. No surprises on the underside of the plastic here. But man, he comes with a lot of stuff. I'm glad that they didn't make this guy a deluxe, because if they'd have given him much more plastic, he would have been. So I'm glad they didn't. And most of all, I'm glad they didn't reuse the sled with the 60th anniversary diver, because he is just a sour, just dour, stick in the mud, angry dude. He's always pissed off about something, and it looks like they did a good job with that on his face. Of course, we're going to look at that a little closer in just a minute. Got his buddy Leatherneck over here, who's been waiting on him to show up for over a year. It's time to reunite these guys. It's go time. Let's check out Wetsuit's gear. I always do like the elemental guys, the water guys. Those have always been my favorite kind of troopers for the most part. So we do get some new dive fins with him, and yes, they are marked L and R for left and right, and they have pegs in the bottom of them. Nice tread on the bottom. Do like that they did the webbing here. These things are really long, but they do have the webbing that matches Wetsuit's outfit, his outfit. Um, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with these next, because we're going to see them again. Hydro Viper, Undertow, somebody's going to be having these things soon. Got the tip here on the middle. I'm not sure if that's designed to be a weapon or not, but these things just look cool. I mean, they look like some kind of crazy bird feet. I can see them doing something with this, turning them into some kind of weapon. Good looking set of dive fins. Curious to see how he's going to stand with them on, but they don't tend to curl upward like some of the other ones that we've had. Set those over there for the time being. Let's look at his interesting little pistol here, and before you guys run to the comments, if you hadn't already, I looked it up. It is a Simonov SPP-1, developed in the late 60s and the 70s in Russia. And that is exactly what it is. If you look that weapon up, it's got 4 barrels, breaks apart, carries fires darts that are basically little
I think it says they fit into a 7.62 cartridge, but that is what this pistol is. So it's really interesting if you want to look it up. I've heard of this before. I just couldn't remember what it was called because, you know, it's a gun from 50 years ago that shoots underwater. Not a lot to it. Brand new in the line, obviously. I don't know where they're going to reuse this. We're going to have to get some more water guys, clearly, to make use of this. But again, it's just something new and unique to this character, at least for now. So I'm glad they didn't just give us just something random with him. They actually put some thought into what they gave him. He is a SEAL. He's a Navy SEAL, so it makes sense for him to come with some kind of weapon. And I'm glad we didn't see a bunch of reuse, rehash, mishmash, that same old MP5 style weapon. We do, I think, get a new knife with him, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think we've seen this knife before. A nice dive knife, and a tapered, ridged handle there. Of course, has an eyelet on the end of the hilt, and it's actually not super thick and pointy at the end like a bayonet. Not as much as most of them, anyway. It is flexible. I wouldn't go so far as to say this one is flimsy or rubbery, but it is bendable. Not a bad looking knife. Makes sense. I mean, that's what this guy would carry. Let's check out his helmet here. Got his hoses on his rebreather. Goes back into that backpack. There's the lights we talked about in the box art. And they did a good job making them look like they are lenses. Get some nice silver looking paint on there. Wetsuit just always had one of the best color schemes. Don't you guys agree? This guy always looked so awesome. Orange helmet, with your vents here. I call them vents. They're not vents. They're not going to let water in. Whatever they are, they're sculpted in. All kinds of little detail on his helmet. Just for this helmet, this almost looks like. I mean, it almost looks like it's a transformer head because of all of the little panels and line work and stuff that's on here. Really good. I mean, I kind of wish it had some a wash or something on it to bring some of these details out. I'm wondering if we see this again, if they try to paint some of this up, if they change the color of this. And we got his built-in dive mask here. It's vented rebreather hoses. I'm not going to pull too much on these because these do not look like they are meant to come out. So I am not going to try and make them. I don't feel like they're going to fall out. They feel pretty good, flexible, just flexible enough. And there's enough slack in here. It seems like he'll be able to turn his head. We're going to find out. Let's take a look at the backpack here. And this is what everybody was wondering about, were these pegs back here. I'm guessing that's going to be for the dive fins. I don't know. I think that's what those, yeah, it's got to be what that's for. That's going to see if that fits pretty flush on there. It holds them. Push it through their peg hole there. You have to kind of put some pressure on it, but they do fit on there pretty well. If that's not what they're for, damn, that was pretty lucky, huh? There's tubing here on the sides of it that match his breathing tubes. Some venting here, probably to let oxygen escape. I don't know. Looks, I was gonna say handle up here because it looks like a handle. Maybe it is, but it's also ribbed like the breathing tube and this piping over here. Not a terrible lot to it. And of course, these are going to plug in here. Theoretically, he's going to have some head movement, so we'll see. It does come with this dive light. I always like this about Wetsuit. I always like this dive light he came with. And then here, of course, they did hit it with some paint. You got some black rubberized around the lens. And then, of course, the lens also kind of matches the helmet to let you know that that is a light. It's coming to light up your life. Has a strap so you can loop it around. I do almost feel like the strap maybe should have been turned the other way. I don't guess it really matters if he's not holding it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it doesn't matter. But a little bit of sculpting on here. Probably should have painted this black, I think, to make the handle rubberized to hold too. But what do I know? And that looks like that's where it unscrews to change batteries, possibly. I have one I take to my camper that looks a lot like this. Never tried using it underwater though. And then we do get his propulsion sled for him to hang on to. Now these we're got our fins back here for our little motors to propel him along. See, that's I wish they'd have done this with the handle. But you do have these little stabilizers back here, a little knob here that's going to fit into the bottom of the backpack. A little bit of paint slop there. Let's see. Focus on that. Yeah, a little bit of paint there. That's all right. It's not a big deal. It's flexible, not flimsy, but that's it. It's just one solid piece. Air intake here and here, I'm guessing, or your water intake to shoot it out. I'm going to quit pretending I know how this thing works. We know what it does. And it is going to plug into the bottom of the backpack. Don't make a liar out of me. It's supposed to plug into the bottom of the backpack. There we go. So, yeah, it's going to go that way. So, I like that you can actually put this on him. So there's where our other two little pegs go, is to help keep this on his back, which I like. More of these figures should be coming with extra holes in their harness or web gear, whatever they got to help hold this stuff in place. I like what they did with Metalhead and gave him those extra supports for his giant rocket pack. So I absolutely love all this plugs in together, and he doesn't have to hold this thing. Now I don't know how he's going to steer it, but we'll leave that up for another day. That's cool. He can sit on the shelf with this. He doesn't have to be holding on to the little sled thing. It fits together. I absolutely love it. So there's your holes for the supports. Let's check out Wetsuit. Looks really good, man. Really clean looking figure for somebody that doesn't have a ton of detail. What he has looks really good. Of course, you got his flying fish logo there on his left breast of his suit, and a zipper for his wetsuit here, nice white. And they did tone the teal down. It's not quite as bright as it is in the Real American Hero line, but like Torpedo, it looks like he's designed to look like he's a fish, like with the underbelly and the silver on the sides. I don't know if anybody's ever actually thought about that before, but those guys are both kind of designed where they look like a type of fish. Web gear, you can actually pull that down a little bit. You could probably get this off of him if you really wanted to. You know, people like to boil them and take them apart. I'm generally not that person. Not a whole lot to him. Nice white stripe going down the sleeves, going all the way down the pants into the boots. These nice knee high dive boots. Of course, he is a really slim figure. He's not super chunky because this dude's super fit. He's a Navy SEAL. He's a diver. He's in water all the time. He's not going to be a big bulky character. And there's just not a ton to him. He's got a watch over here on the left. They didn't go with the fancy dive watch or anything. No, actually, no paint on that. It doesn't look like. And I think that's made onto the wrist. And then over here, he's got the paracord. That one is going to come off. I want to see if this comes off. No, that one is actually made onto the edge of his arm. Horizontal pegs on the left hand, horizontal pegs on the right. He doesn't have the super rigid hands. They're more rubbery. Not as bad as some, though, but different kind of angle to his hands, I feel like. So that dive light's going to fit in there because it's got the angled handle. So up here on his gear, he's got a bunch of pouches everywhere, all kind of storage for whatever. Probably got some twine. Who knows? Who knows what he's got hiding in there? So your buckles. And all this is kind of a muted color. This is probably Probably all plastic. I don't know. But the black pouches really stand out. He's got them up here on his arms as well, left and right. Now, these may fall. You know how some of these bicep things that they do don't like to stay up. Seem like they're okay, but we hadn't really started posing him around. Then he does have sheath for his knife on the left and a sheath for his pistol on the right, and that's all kind of bent in straight out of the box. But it's flexible. It's not going to be a problem, but it's just weird that that's all bent in. Boots, again, got zippers back here in the back. Very sleek looking figure. He can look up and down about as much as you would imagine. So here we are looking at his face, man. He just looks like he's mad, doesn't he? That looks like Thomas Hayden Church a little bit. He looks like he's pissed off about something. To me, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm pretty sure they meant to make him look that way to match his personality. Of course, they got Leatherneck over here. They're always fighting and arguing with each other and whatnot. So he looks really good. Let's see how he moves. No issue with that left arm. No issue with the right. Pinless double jointed knees. That one's a little stiff, but not too bad to break free. Well, overall, pretty good. Drop down hips are okay, and he does have an ab crunch, which he probably should, in case he's looking down while he's swimming or gliding along. Where it's flipper, flipper, faster than lightning. All right, enough of that. Let's get some gear on this guy. We've already seen the backpack on him, so I will go ahead and put that back on, and we'll attach his mask. Get all that lined up. I have a feeling not all of these are always going to seat in here, but maybe. Backpack goes in pretty well. I don't feel like that's going to really come out of there. See how his helmet fits on him. Man, it's a tight fit getting the helmet on him. There we go. Well, I said that. Maybe it was just the angle I was doing it, because now that it's on, it seems like it fits awful loose. Like way loose. Push it down. Yeah, that's not good. That's probably the last thing you want when you're swimming along underneath the ocean. Maybe these will help hold it down. Just pop those in. Mushrooms, and those are pretty long mushroom pegs. So actually, they do help hold it down. So I was I was worried about that. It's still got more play in it than it should, but this is not as squishy of a helmet as some of the others that we've been seeing lately. So I think it'll be fine. Just want to, if you move his head, you're going to want to kind of fix it back on there. See what he can do. Turning to the right and the left. So that one popped loose, which that's not the side I would have thought would pop loose going that way. Oh no, that did pop out of there. I hope that's meant to. And then, oh man, he's drowned now. Let's hope this goes back in. Looks like it's meant to. And wetsuit didn't even survive one mission. All right, I was worried about that. I thought I broke some glue loose or something. So there's your look for this guy. Put his pistol in his hand. And this pistol actually has a very long like trigger guard. And what I looked up about this pistol, they said that it made it really cumbersome for people to actually carry and use. That trigger set's way out there. But what I was saying was, so look at that. It works though. You can get it on there and it holds it. Just gonna have to kind of mess around with it. But yeah, he can actually get that thing in a firing pose. Anyway, what I was saying about the trigger guard, they couldn't have made this weapon the way that it was originally manufactured, and you would have never got it in action figures' hands because the trigger guard for it set way, way out. This goes. I'm wondering if you're going to be able to get it all the way in there because of that trigger. Okay, there we go. I was kind of concerned about that. I just didn't have it lined up very well. Check out his dive knife here. Pretty good. I like the knife, for not having any paint on it. Of course, this isn't one knife that really doesn't need it. Matches everything well. He's got just the right amount of black on him to set everything off, I think. Let's see if we can get that in there. There we go. Got his knife in there. Let's check out the dive light. Again, not super, super gummy hands, but gummier than some we've seen. So there's his light. It's going to be swimming along with that. Fits in there pretty well. I don't feel like he's going to drop it. And he's even got the little trigger there for the light to click the light on. And that fits in his hand perfectly. So this, are we going to have to take it off? Take the wrist off to put the light in. No, we are not. So there we go. And I don't think it's going to fall out. The paracord bracelet catches it. And the watch is definitely going to if you put it in that hand. So let's try his fins. We got the left fin here. Goes on nice and smooth, nice and easy. No problems getting those fins on. I know one of the other figures, I guess one of the other divers probably, they had some trouble getting the fins on. Or at least I had trouble with them. Get his feet angled out like that. So he looks really good with all this stuff on. Faster than lightning. They call him Brian, the underwater guy. All right. Enough of that stuff. All right, let's see if he can stand up with these on. And thank God his ankles are pretty solid. Well, they were till I said that. Not bad. You kind of got to bend the knees a little bit, but he can actually stand. So, and he's slim. These diver characters are pretty slim, so you might want to put him on a figure stand, have him like he's floating along. Well, I like Wetsuit. I don't like him as much as I like Dialton or Mainframe though. So he's a really good figure. I think everything works. The aesthetics work. He looks really good. Don't really have any QC or any manufacturing issues with him. And dude's thighs are so big that these are actually going to stay in place up here. His holster for his pistol and his sheath for his knife. They're not going anywhere. This dude's got some Olympic level thighs. The thigh master. There's Wetsuit. Really don't have a whole lot of different stuff I can do with him. We didn't try putting this in his hands, so let's do that because I have a feeling it's going to be kind of tricky to get him to hang on to this thing. This might take a minute getting this thing in his hand because the handles for it are huge. I don't see at all how you're going to be able to get him to hold this thing like he's swimming along with it. It's going to take some doing. His fingers are just, they made this handle part way too wide right here for him to hang on to. I think you probably will be able to get the fingers stretched out enough to do it, but is it going to be worth it? All right, I'm going to fiddle around with it for a minute and see if I can get it in there, and we'll see. Okay, so here's the problem with Wetsuit. This thing is a nightmare to get him to hold. Now, if you look, sorry, I grabbed my little grippy pointy thing. So if you look right here, it does have notches in the sled where his thumbs are supposed to go. I was actually had it flipped originally, and then I figured out that it has notches and this is the way it's supposed to go. There's a few problems with this design. Yes, I got him to hold it, and I guess if you wanted to put it in there, you can mess around with it and you can get him to hold on to it and propel him. This handle is way too wide and his hands are very wide. I mean, wide this way, but his hands are wide this way. And there's not a lot of room to get his fingers crammed in here with the way it's angled. So it's going to come loose. I heated this up. I had to heat both of his hands up and stretch his fingers out, which are already pretty pliable. But I did get it in there, and I feel like if you heat them up and you get them in there, it's going to be okay for a little bit. But they are, as they're cooling, they're pulling back away from it. It's just, the thing is just too wide. Even with the cutout for the thumb there, this is just way too wide for these hands, and the way that this is spaced needed to be out just a little bit more. I get he's supposed to hold it tightly. Yes, he can get his hands on it, but as this thing cools, or as his hands cool, it's going to pop right off of there. And I had a nightmare working with this right hand at first. He's got the thumbs that are curved. They're not curved in and bent in as much as some of the figures are. They look fine until you try to get them wrapped around this thing and even seated in that little notch there. So in theory, that's how that should go. And if you only want to do it like that, you balance it right, it'll work. But the way his hands are made, where they taper down, as far as, your, like your hands do, your knuckles and stuff, fingers going down in order of size, it's just not enough with these fingers to get a good grip on this. So that's kind of crappy because I do really like this little sled. So I'm probably not going to wind up displaying him with it. Now, I will say that the back of the box does have him holding on to it with just one hand and then holding on to the light. So it will make it a little easier doing it that way. However, you're still going to run into the same problem with the fingers popping loose right here because it's the thickest part of the handle. So you guys play around with it. Tell me what you think. Am I doing something wrong? Maybe. I don't know. I've spent like 5 minutes trying to get this thing in his hand. So I think my wetsuit's probably going to rock the little sled snapped in back here in the back. And I do like it, so I'll probably have it on him. But I'm going to pretend that he can somehow control this thing with it on his back and kind of ferry him around. All right, that does take away a little bit for wetsuit for me. So where are we at with giving this guy a score? I'm going to give wetsuit a 4. I really thought he was going to be a little bit better until I got to the functionality of the sled. I was thinking a little higher, but that's a main feature for him, is holding on to that and posing him. And especially if you've got him trying to hold that thing like this, like he's swimming, floating along, it's just going to fall. It's going to fall out of his hand and it's going to fall underneath your shelf, and you're going to be pissed off because you didn't listen to me. 4 on wetsuit. What'd you guys think? Did you pick him up? I know you probably did because you already got Leatherneck, so you got to have him. Other than that, he's a great figure. Other than that flaw with the sled, I don't care for that. But everything else about Wetsuit is awesome, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Hit that like, that share, that subscribe, and I will see you guys next time on 3 Star Draw.